So my testimony is I had gained some weight, about 40, don't laugh, not that much weight.
I'm thinking the same thing, a lot of weight.
I gained about 40 pounds as an adult, about 80 pounds since high school. But no, I put on about 40 pounds of weight, but I was still very active. I did a lot of hunting, fishing, hiking, playing sports, and always felt good. But I always carried I had some bad knots in my upper back. I mean, that you could almost, some of them you could see if you turn and look in the mirror. And the doctors kept saying that's where you carry your stress. You know, there's stress knots. And I had been to physical therapy, and I had tried acupressure and acupuncture and just about everything you could think of. So finally one day, still feeling okay other than the knots on my back, I went back into my doctor and I said, look, we really got to get to the bottom of this, because I was where I would be driving, and all I would do is reach my hand to the top of the steering wheel, and it would knot up and then run up the back of my head and give me a migraine. And so the doctor said, well, let's pull some blood and rule out some forms of arthritis. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. So they pulled blood out, and he was waiting for the lab results while he was talking with me, and he was showing me these cheesy little stretches. You know, when you're at work sitting at your desk, you can do this, and we're going through these, and the nurse comes in and she gives him my lab results, and he looks at her and he goes, are these his results? And she goes, yeah. And he turns to me and he goes, Daryl, sit down. I'm like, well, this isn't good. And my wife was in there with me, and he said, he goes, well, what do you know about diabetes? And I said, I know I'm either pre-diabetic or diabetic, or you wouldn't be saying this to me. And he goes, well, let me tell you a little bit about it. He says, when your blood sugar hits 180, and for those of you that are diabetic, you'll know this. He says, when your blood sugar hits 180, we diagnose you. No questions asked. You know, you're diabetic when it hits 180. He said, if you're not taking care of yourself and you're diabetic, it can hit, you know, 230s, 240s. That's when it starts doing some damage to your eyes if it stays up over 200 very long. He said if you ate a bowl of sugar cereal and had a donut right before you come in, then it might hit as high as 300, 310. And he said by the time you're hitting 400, 420, you're facing a diabetic coma, you're being hospitalized. And he said right now as we're talking, your blood sugar is 597. And he said, I don't know how you're standing there and talking to me. And I said, that's impossible because I went for a 2-mile walk this morning. I'm fine. So they retook blood, retested it, and I think it was either 1 or 2 points higher or lower, but it was still just under 600. So me being the idiot that I am, he starts talking about insulin. He even tells the nurse, go get some insulin. And I said, I am not going on insulin for the rest of my life. I told the doctor, I said, here's what we'll do. I said, I'm a pretty disciplined person, so give me 6 months to drop it on my own, and then we'll talk. And he goes, you didn't hear me. He goes, the last guy left my office on a gurney was 410, and you're almost 600. So he says, you're not leaving my office till we get it down. And then he says, I'm going to go call a specialist because I can't figure out how you're sitting in the chair, and my nurse is going to show you how to give yourself insulin. So my wife's in tears, and I'm kind of like just in shock because I still feel fine. And she's starting to show me how to give myself insulin shots, and the doctor comes back in and he says, I just got a phone with a specialist because you're not obese, you're not over 50, and you're pretty active. We're going to go ahead and try you on metformin, which is the pill, before we try insulin and just see what your body does. So he said, you got 3 months to drop it down to the 200s, which is still astronomically high, or you're going on insulin. And so I went home, and I actually am pretty disciplined, so I immediately, oh, and another thing I should say is I ate pretty healthy, which is kind of weird, but I drank about, and I hate to still admit this, I drank about 100 to 150 ounces a day of Pepsi. I would have a 44 ouncer on my way to work and a 44 ouncer on my way home, and that was a minimum. So if I ran out during the day at my desk, I'd go grab another one. So I blame my diabetes on nothing but soda pop, because we ate good veggies, we ate healthy. So I went home and I cut soda pop like immediately off of a cold turkey, not even diet. I cut almost all of your like white breads and a lot of your carbs. And then what happened, which the doctors again can't figure out, is I dropped my blood sugar from almost 600 to in the double digits in less than a week. And so the neuropathy hit my feet and my legs because I had dropped my blood sugar so quickly. I was basically going through detox, sugar detox, which is no different than a drug detox. And this is about where Cindy came in. The neuropathy hit. I lost full use of my legs, basically my body from the waist down for 9 days. I had to literally drag myself to the bathroom. I couldn't use my legs at all. And the doctor just kept saying, I've never seen this before, but it'll pass. That was his exact words. I've never seen it before, but it'll pass. He's talking to a specialist in Spokane who said basically all my muscles were wrenching up, trying to squeeze out all the glucose and so all the sugars, and so it would pass as my body detoxified itself. The neuropathy was so bad, I missed 5 weeks of work, which I had in a 25-year career. I had missed 5 weeks combined before, but I missed 5 weeks of work. The neuropathy was so bad that there were times that my wife took our kids to her parents' house to stay the night because I would just lay on the floor all night in a fetal position, just shaking because it hurt so bad. And that's when Cindy called. I think I had just kind of started getting my legs back, but I was having a hard time walking on the balls of my feet. If any of you know anybody with neuropathy, it's like you're stepping on needles. So then Cindy called, and I had survived the early 90 Melaleuca oil craze and all that stuff. So Cindy called and she's like, I'm working on this company called Plexus, and I was like, no way, I'm not interested.
2 weeks.
Yeah, she'd only been on it for 2 weeks, and I was on 4 prescription pain meds. I had the doctors actually arguing in front of my wife and I that I was on too much pain medication. The neurologist was saying no, he that's fine, and my doctor's saying no. Any of you that are familiar with pain medication, all at one time, I was on the maximum dose of Vicodin, Effexor, and gabapentin, which are like high potent. Gabapentin is used for epileptics and everything. I mean, they were trying anything on me. And so Cindy called and started talking about Plexus, and I said there's no way a natural drink is going to get rid of this pain. So I think we hung up, and then a couple days later she called me again, and she has Lori Welch on the phone. She's like, I have this friend. And so they started talking to me again, and during that time, so I agreed to order a 30-day supply and just try it because I was desperate for anything. And then
And Lori's husband.
And Lori's husband was type 1 diabetic, so they kind of got through to me there. And then while I was waiting for the Slim to come in the mail, I think this is the Fresno air. I breathe clear Oregon air. While I was waiting for it to come in, I actually went into the doctor because I was getting about 45 minutes of sleep a night because my neuropathy was so bad. And those 45 minutes I was sitting in a lawn chair in my bedroom sleeping because if I elevated my feet, then it made it like 10 times worse. And so I went into the doctor. I remember I went in one night and I said, if you flag me as suicidal, I'll kill you, because I don't want that on my record. But I said, in all honesty, if I had owned a chainsaw in my garage, I'd have cut both my legs off last night. And he looked at me and he goes, you're not kidding, are you? And I said, absolutely not. I would have cut my feet off. And so they doubled my dose of Vicodin, put me on sleeping pills, and let me crash for 3 days, and then took me back off it and had me start all over again with the detoxifying. And so then that's when my Slim got here, and I'll try and wrap it up.
No, you can't.
And basically within, I was walking, but I wasn't walking. I mean, I was like shuffling, because every time I put my feet down, it was too painful. And then when my Slim got there, on the 8th day, I'll never forget it because I wrote it on my calendar, but on the 8th day of taking Slim, I started walking normal. And my blood sugars had dropped into the double digits, but then as soon as I would eat, it would shoot back up to like 280. So it was just completely out of control. And so anyway, Slim helped with the pain from the neuropathy. Now I'm pretty much, I have constant, I never forget about my feet, but I'm not in any pain all the time. And my blood sugar is regulated. For those that are familiar with diabetes, they gauge your blood sugar on what they call an A1C, which is your 3-month average of blood sugar, so that you can't trick the doctors. You can't say, I got to go give blood tomorrow, so I better not have any sugar today. They look at the last 3 months, and a normal person or a non-diabetic person, the maximum A1C in normal range is a 5.8. Diabetics are anything over really a 7. And when I was diagnosed, mine was 13.8, which again is almost unheard of. And I just got my A1C done after being on Plexus for 6 months. So I not just got it done, but after 6 months, and my A1C was 6.7. So I'm less than 1 point away from not even being in the diabetic range anymore. And I eat normal. I'm still on metformin. I dropped 3 pain medications in, what, 9 months? How long have you been in it? About that long?
Yeah.
So I would say in about 8 months, I dropped 3 of the pain medications. I've cut my metformin in half. I've never been on insulin. The only pain medication I still take is gabapentin, and although it's pretty potent, I've gone from 3,200 milligrams a day to 800 milligrams a day. And I'm on, I was, at the time I was diagnosed, they tested my blood in 17 categories. I was either grossly low or grossly high in 12 of the 17 categories. In my last blood test, I was in normal range on everything, 17 out of 17. And I'm on Plexus Slim, I'm on X Factor, I'm on nerve relief, and or nerve support, and fast relief. So I do not take. I do not take the ProBio. I did, but I don't take the ProBio because after a month, then my spit test was good. So I kind of quit that because I have a family of 6 and we're almost all on Slim. So I mean, I have to have a team of 100 to pay for my products. So
what did your doctor say about your lab results?
Good job.
She wrote a note.
Good job, yeah. So she did. She put remarkable, good job on my lab results. My doctor, I don't know who told us in our upline about this, but it's been true for me. What I have found, I've dealt with doctors 3 times with Slim, and each of them will tell you there's nothing in here that will hurt you. If you'd like to try it, go right ahead. Mm-hmm. You know, they're not going to say this is great stuff, do it, because they want to prescribe you stuff. But if they're ethical, they won't lie and they'll say
Most of them
there's
aren't.
nothing in here that'll bother you. So that's kind of my story.